3 years after the release of the second film, Evangelion 3.33 was shown to audiences in January of 2014. Upon its release, the film was met with general confusion following its mysterious ending. Not only did it fail to answer many long-asked questions, but it also managed to create more. Fans of the series are used to this, especially after the conclusion to the original series End of Evangelion, which was very hard to understand and solved almost none of the serious questions. But for general audiences, who viewed 3.33 with no background knowledge, the film was shocking and hard to watch. Welcome to You Cannot Review, a 4-part series detailing my thoughts on Hideki Anno's Evangelion rebuild films after seeing them for the first time. This video will be a little longer than the last two, since I have a lot to touch on. I'll be adding an extra segment called Message, where I will talk about what I think the film means for any longtime fans of the series who want to hear my thoughts. Without any further ado, welcome to my review and analysis of Evangelion 3.33. Without much surprise, the visuals in this movie were excellent. They captured Eva's style, but also managed to look clean and new. Much like the other two films, this rebuild improved upon the original as far as animation goes. The movement is beautiful. Although many will tell you that the action is too experimental, I believe that it looks really smooth, especially in the opening sequence. However, I'd like to talk about the action scene where the Wonder escapes Earth. This scene feels really long and unnecessary, especially after we just had a big action scene in the opening 5 minutes or so. The visuals are pleasing, but a bit too large scale for the beginning of the film. I would have liked to see more of how Shinji felt after waking up instead of the huge action scene. That being said, the action towards the end of the film is stunning. The stakes feel much more real, with Shinji, Kaoru, Rei, and Asuka at the forefront of the battle. The visuals perfectly follow this idea, and make the fight feel really intense, even if you aren't sure what's going on in the plot. Of course, there are beautiful scenes outside of the battles. The long and painful shots of Nerve headquarters destroyed and run down are absolutely stunning, creating the perfect feeling of dread, especially for fans of the series who are used to these shots being used in a much brighter way. The scene where Shinji and Kaoru look out over the world following the near-third impact stands out to me particularly as a beautiful example of visual perfection. Shinji and Kaoru's piano scenes are also very well executed, showing how well the animators of the series can perform their skill. Overall, the animation is nearly flawless, improving on every film before it. For 2014, it's hard not to be impressed by this awesome display by the animation team. The characters in the film have undergone major changes between the two entries, forcing the viewer to completely readjust. I find this development really interesting, as it goes against most of what we expect from the series, where characters stay relatively static. There's quite a bit of controversy around this change, but I find it revolutionary for the series. I love seeing the ideas of Hideki Anno being brought to life instead of a repetitive remake of the 95 series. Misato and Ritsuko hold only a shred of what they used to be, becoming more and more like Gendo and Fuyutsuki. This transfer of character is really cool to watch, although it can be difficult to accept. The bridge workers are surprisingly frustrating, being mostly new faces. There's certainly nothing to rave about, but they do add some realism to the side characters, instead of faceless employees. Asuka makes her second big screen appearance and is a much darker version of her normal angry self. This change works really well because it shows how much Shinji's choice from 2.22 affects everybody, making an already bitter character even more disturbed. The film really shines, however, in its characters who haven't changed. Shinji and Kaoru have an amazing dynamic, creating a realistic and tragic relationship. Shinji specifically is really interesting, as he is placed into a future that is shockingly real, and is forced to adjust. His choice to join Nerve perfectly parallels the viewer's need for a sense of normalcy and comfort. Rei is barely in the movie, but when she is, she delivers the intrigue that we know and love from the character. By the end of the film, the characters are all prepared for the final installment, leaving us with one of the longest and best cliffhangers in anime history. Despite what many people think, I really enjoyed the characters in this movie, and can't wait to see if they will get a good ending in the final movie. The plot of the third film leaves very little to talk about. Until the last 15 to 20 minutes, it mostly remains pretty straightforward. Most of the film's time is used on characters and setups, which I do enjoy. The movie isn't more than it needs to be, leaving room for the final film to explore new areas. However, the end of the movie is very fast and hard to keep up with, especially for non-fans of the series. I think a bit of thinking will clear things up for longtime fans, but for people who aren't used to the themes of the series, it will be tough to comprehend the message. That being said, this last segment will be dedicated to my analysis of the final moments of the film. To understand the themes that Anno implemented into the ending of this movie, we must first look back at the series to see what his messages have been in the past. From episode 1 of the anime to the final film, there are clear messages of escapism, especially involving human instrumentality. The idea of combining every soul into one being represents an escape from reality and from social barriers. At the end of the film, Shinji chooses to deny this escape and live a life with other humans, which is shown by his final scene with Asuka, where she shows him humanity and he finally understands to stop running away from others. These themes carry into the second Rebuild film, where things are finally looking up for the characters. In each scene they get closer to idealism, but Unit 3 is classified as an angel and it is all ripped away. Becoming an angel represents the loss of idealism and a return to a darker reality. Shinji's choice to save Rei is a descent into his own habits of escapism, where he chooses idealism over reality, causing the near-third impact. And that finally brings us to the third Rebuild film, where there has been a passage of 14 years since the previous installment. Shinji runs away from Misato, who can't bring herself to kill him, representing Anno's inability to end the franchise. He meets Kaoru and is once again introduced to a life without hardship. The two are sent to the Central Dogma to retrieve the two spears, the only things that can supposedly save humanity from doom. But Kaoru is surprised to see that the spears are the same, representing instrumentality. The two spears being different is the key to saving Earth, because they would represent a world where people can be unique and love each other. Shinji, following his habits of escapism, decides to pull the two duplicate spears, fulfilling Gendo's goal to start the fourth impact and cause human instrumentality. Kaoru breaks down, realizing that he was only bait for Shinji to start the impact. Kaoru represents the ideal version of Shinji, who defies Gendo and learns to love, but when Shinji pulls out the spears, Kaoru becomes nothing more than a pawn, causing him to become an angel, completely destroying the idealism that he portrayed. Kaoru chooses to destroy himself, stopping the fourth impact and reminding Shinji how to be human. In the final moments, Asuka frees Shinji from the plug and pushes him, causing him to drop his cassette player, something that has been with him every time he has chosen escapism. We close on Rei, Asuka, and Shinji walking away from the plug, with the inference that Rei has picked up the tape. Gendo sees the event as a victory, destroying Seele prematurely. Effectively, Gendo and Fuyutsuki have become Seele, and Misato and Ritsuko have become Nerve. The fourth film is perfectly set up to complete the story, and I can't wait to see how it ends. As you can see, Evangelion's deeper themes didn't end after the original anime. The messages have carried over into the Rebuild films, proving once again the timelessness of the series. Despite the distress caused by the third film, I believe that it's a great movie with wonderful visuals, characters, plot, and themes. Not only is it thought-provoking, but it also creates a dark aesthetic that beautifully captures what I enjoy in post-apocalyptic stories. As the release of the final film approaches, I'm getting really excited for the beautifully crafted series to finally end, even though I'll miss it. Hideki Anno has created an extremely personal and timeless tale that has changed me forever. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you go back and watch the other two parts. Also feel free to subscribe so you can be notified when I review the fourth and final film. Thank you for all the support and of course for 40 subscribers. The fact that you guys watch and enjoy my videos means a lot to me. Thanks for watching.